Hope Channel, changing lives.
We did bury Gifty at Adenta Central last week, Sunday. We will also be burying Rachel at Ntoso in Isawam this Sunday. People are dying. And the youth is dying. If you ask of their age, 36, 37, 38. If you look at Facebook, we are looking at 28, 30, 35. The youth is dying. And I don't know if it has anything to do with COVID. I don't know what it has to do with. But I'm praying that we pray and that whatever it is, we be each other's keeper. Because how things are going, unless we can really get in touch with our God, it doesn't look good. So our condolences goes to the Buamponsem family and Nana and the children as well. Our condolences. Sorry for starting this program on this sad note, but really, if we ever needed God, this is the time. Good evening and welcome to the Law Chamber, where legal matters are discussed from a Christian perspective. My name is Anita, and we're going to discuss a lot of legal topics. If you are live with us here, you know that we are on Facebook, we are on YouTube, and we are all social media handles. Also on Multi TV, Hope Channel, or Hope TV Ghana. So far I've been discussing a lot, right? If you've been with us, you know that this is our 9th episode, season 1, episode 9. And we'll be done with season 1 with episode 10, meaning that next week, after next week, we'll be going on break. So next week is our last episode, and then we'll be going on break. We've been discussing family matters, we've been discussing our rights, and last week we discussed a little bit about divorce, separation, the legal implications, and we had a lot of questions coming in, people calling and asking me, Anita, why are you guys discussing divorce? Why divorce? Why divorce? We will delve a little bit into that when we begin. Today, actually, we are going to discuss spousal properties and children of the marriage. So the divorce is over. When you get divorced, there are properties to be shared. What are these properties? How do we share it? What are some of the properties that cannot be touched? When it comes to the children, which children are we looking at? What age are we looking at? Who is going to get custody of these children? If the other person gets custody, can the other person have access to those children? We'll be discussing all this particular evening. So please help me welcome our 2 guests. So I have lawyer Benjamin Bakpo Saka. Lawyer, I hope I mentioned the middle name well.
You did.
Bakpo.
Bakpo.
Yes. Lawyer Saka is a legal practitioner. He works with AB and David Africa, the Ghana office. He's a partner there. He's practiced for over 18 years. And when you have an LLM Harvard graduate, you know where he'll be taking us. I'll not let him take us too far. We'll be here. No, lawyer, you're not taking us too far with this topic. He's also been a lawyer on divorce cases, and so he has expertise when it comes to that particular topic. This particular topic we're going to discuss. He's married. He's very much married, and so he'll be looking at it very critically for us. Lawyer Pakpo.
Yes.
You are welcome. But
Thank you very much.
Why?
Pakpo is the first son of my clan. So Gans, your position determines your name. You know that Gans use a day, but for the Gans, it is your position. So your name is already sorted by the time you come.
Oh, okay.
So Pakpo is the first son of anybody who is my clan.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Hey, And I should be careful, because I was mentioning that, Papa, I know that I liked it, how I was mentioning it. Yeah. I should, okay, so that's lawyer. I have to. Yes, and you do know that when we have a gentleman with us, we have to balance it a bit. You know, I like to balance things, yes. And so we have a learned sister, lawyer Jacqueline Asante-Mensah. If you don't know Jacqueline, no, usually she's called Jackie. Yes, if you don't know Jackie, well, then you're not in the Adventist fraternity. Yes, so yes, she is an Adventist, and she's with Prince Emmanuel SDA Church. She's a legal practitioner. And at this young age, she's founded her own law firm. Yeah, she's the founder, and she's also managing that law firm as well. And the law firm is Asante-Mensah and Associates. Yes, her name. Diagro. Sure. We are going high. Yes. And she's practiced for over 80 years. And when it comes to divorce cases, I tell you, she's one of the gurus when it comes to divorce because she's been practicing it. So she's not just going to give us a theory. She's also going to give you the practicality about it. Jackie.
Anita.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You are welcome. I hope by the time we are done, at least people have an idea about what the law is. That's all we are trying to do, right?
Yes. That's why we are here.
Yes. So Jackie, let me ask a little bit off. Someone on Facebook asks us, I don't know if it's valid, but asked the question. The question is, we are Adventists, we don't believe in divorce. Why should we discuss divorce? Why should we discuss life after divorce with properties and children? Why that discussion?
It is very important for us to discuss divorce like any other topic that affects the family. Because in the first place, divorce is real and it happens. It doesn't matter that you don't support it, but it happens, and it is happening at an alarming rate. And unfortunately, people don't even know how to go about it. They don't know how to even come out of a divorce hole. And so a lot of people are cheated. Their children are taken away from them. And in those aspects, the church is unable to help these people. So it is good that we discuss it, because the Bible says that for lack of knowledge, my people perish.
That's true. Preach
so
on.
If you are living in a world where divorce is happening, but you don't know anything about divorce, then chances are that if you are unlucky to find yourself in that path,
we are not saying you should, but
yes, but you should know.
Yeah,
you should know about it. You should know about it. It is extremely important. It is happening. And so we shouldn't be oblivious to it. Yeah. Sometimes we pretend something is not happening. For example, rape. And I think maybe you would have time to discuss that. It happens even in the church. That is the truth. But sometimes we are oblivious. So we don't talk about it. And people are abused and harassed in the church of God. And nothing is done about it because we don't discuss it and we don't have the knowledge. So it is important that we talk about these things so that we will be acquainted with knowledge. And
when I was called to the bar, like we are talking about something, so when I started the practice, once a while you hear someone talking about divorce, someone calling you about divorce.
Yes.
But recently, alarming rates, you get about 2 calls a week. And the person wants to discuss divorce.
They are desperate.
And these are church members.
Yes.
And the question I ask myself is, what is going on? What is going wrong? So if you are here, you think that divorce is not, discussing it is not important, please rethink it. If nothing at all, we're not saying you should divorce, but if nothing at all, with that knowledge, with just that knowledge, and knowing what the law is, that's what we're trying to teach you. What the law says. Know what the law says, and who knows where you need that protection from. So let's delve into it. So we discussed marriage, right? 3 types of marriages we have. So we have the Mohammedan, we have the customary, and we have the ordinance. Okay, and then we also have divorce under these 3 types. Yes. And the one funny thing I usually tell people that when it comes to under customary, you can't go to court and go and divorce the person. Don't do it at home and they'll give you 1,000, 1,500. Please, go to court and the court can share the So now we've discussed all that. So now let's talk about spousal properties. Lawyer Papo.
Yes.
What is spousal properties?
So Spousal property simply refers to properties that have been acquired, which can be called properties of their spouses. Some are quite consciously as being properties of their spouses. Some, by operation of law, they end up to be spousal properties. And by property, I'm looking at anything. It ranges from tangibles and intangibles. So by tangibles, I'm talking about lands, buildings, cars, even furniture. By intangibles, it could be copyrights, it could be shares, it could be patents. So it stretches from, it's a broad spectrum when you talk about property of spouses. Yes.
So spousal properties are properties you acquired when you get married.
Exactly.
So these are the properties you share after the divorce. But what happens to properties you acquire before you get married? What happens to these properties? Okay,
those are treated as your personal properties.
Okay.
But as we go along, it doesn't mean that, I'll explain, it doesn't mean that that party may not be entitled to some of these properties. Because in divorce, we have what we call settlement. And in that settlement, you may be asked to make some provision to the other spouse.
Okay.
And that provision, they can actually take your self-acquired property, as we call it. That is property you acquired before the marriage. It still can be ordered. The court can order that some of that property should be given to the other spouse. But actually, when you talk about spousal property, you're looking at those that have actually been acquired in the course of marriage, or let's say after the marriage.
Okay, so those are the ones ordinarily you share. But when the court wants to compensate the other party, they can attach. So the properties you acquire before marriage, ordinarily, all things being equal, they are yours.
They are yours.
And your spouse is not entitled to it, all things being equal.
Yes, until the court has so ordered.
Ordered, okay. And so let's look at this area where people think that so far as I'm married to you and you're saying that any property we acquire during marriage is our property, are we then saying that I can't, as an individual, although I'm married, have my own property? Jackie?
You can. You can, because you have the rights under the Constitution to have your own property. But the only thing is that it has to be very clear that both of you have that kind of understanding that we are acquiring separate properties. And so I remember there was a case where I was involved in that the parties sort of lived very separate lives when it came to their finances and then acquisition of the years. This one had his own house, land, this and that, this one. So the impression that the court had was that the two of you never intended to even have any property together. So it was clear that you are acquiring individual properties. So in that case, when it is very clear, there is no issue about it. So you can acquire property individually.
Okay, so if these properties are acquired during marriage and they're supposed to be shared, ordinarily, how is it shared?
Well, it has to be shared equally but equitably. What I mean is that since it is joint property, you are sharing the property. You are all entitled to an equal portion. But that equality doesn't mean the 50-50 rule that some people have stuck with. The court will look at what is fair and just under the circumstances. So for instance, let's say that the property was acquired by the husband with his money, okay? But then the woman made some contribution to his acquisition. So the court would have to look at what is fair under the circumstances. So you, the woman, may not get 50%. You may get, let's say, 20 or 10 or even 5. But you will get a share of it, which will be fair, because it will be unfair if it is shared equally where you haven't made any substantial contribution to it at all. So it is to be shared equally. However, the principle of equity comes in. So the court will look at what is fair and just under the circumstances to be able to share it.
Like, you see, sometimes people go like, especially the men, unfortunately, I'm the man. I'm the one who bought this property. The woman is a housewife. She didn't do anything. I bought the house. I bought the land. I built everything. So she didn't do anything. So she should go with nothing. Ordinarily, all things being equal, what do we think the position of the law will be?
Well, it's for the man to say, but for the law to tell the man what the position is.
Yes.
Let me say this. I mean, Jackie made a point. Where we have seen in the past 3 decades some revolutionary position in the law is this area of spousal property rights. Now, and as you said, you find the dispute heavily when it has to do with landed property. That's where you find most of the dispute. In fact, most of our cases that have been at the Supreme Court had almost always related to landed property.
Landed property, that's the lands,
exactly,
the houses, and the farms.
Yes. But what the court has done, there was a case, I'm sure those at legal circle know this case, Mensa and Mensa, that seemed to say that the equity principle, we are looking at 50-50. And then, as you would expect, clients and lawyers, everybody went pushing for 50-50. The Supreme Court got the chance again to clarify, in another case, that you are looking at actually the parties' respective input. So each should be treated on a case-by-case basis, each case. Okay. So it is not a one-for-all principle, which is the 50-50, but you look at each case. So that clarification meant that the sharing is not automatic. It's not a 50-50 share. Then again, let me add to this. In the past, the position has been that for the man whose illustration you gave, who says I acquired everything, the position has been that the court would look at what the woman, as a wife, has done over the years. So they look at, was she helping the man in terms of the keeping of the home, taking care of the children, cooking, cleaning. If there is that evidence, because not all wives do that, then the court will say that there has been some substantial contribution. And the court will then say how much should be assigned to the woman in terms of her contribution. But as late as 2021, the position has flipped, in which the Supreme Court has said that now we have made it this way, that once there is marriage, the presumption is that the property is owned by both spouses. So as soon as you prove that there's marriage, then any property that's acquired in the course of the marriage is presumed to be jointly, unless it is rebutted. Previously, it was the man, unless the woman can show substantial contribution, but it has been flipped. So right now, the onus is on the one alleging that the woman didn't do anything to prove that, because the law has said the woman already has been given a share. Okay. Then we move on to how much, looking at their respective contribution, should we say should go to the man and then the woman. So that has been the position of the law as we speak now currently. So
currently, if you are married and you get a divorce, all things being equal, irrespective of who bought this, who bought that, all things being equal, that property, if it is a spousal property, during marriage, is 50-50 unless someone can rebut it.
It is.
What does a presumption mean?
Presumption simply means that we are taking it to be this unless you can convince us otherwise. Okay. So in the case of marital or spousal property, we are saying that once there's marriage and once property has been acquired in the course of the marriage, there's a presumption that it was jointly acquired, unless the one
for the two of you.
Exactly, unless the one saying that no, it wasn't jointly acquired to prove it. And our laws empower the judges to do so much under this principle. Why? Because we decided as a country to go for a regime called equity. Equity simply means that you are looking beyond what the law is telling you to try and do justice. And I share this all the time. There's a reason why our chief judge is not called chief judge. It's called chief justice. There's a reason why the high court is not called the high court of law, right? It's what? The high court of justice. So as a country, we want to achieve or ensure justice. So equity helps us to achieve that justice. Now, just to address the point I made, in fact, we have been emphatic on the principle that property acquired in the course of marriage could be joint property. Now, we passed the Land Act recently. Now, I know there's a bit of, call it rush to state what the law is, but one has to be careful. The Land Act didn't say that landed property acquired during marriage is joint. What the Land Act says is that properties jointly acquired by the spouses shall be deemed to be in their respective the conveyance. Yeah. Unless there is express statement to the contrary. So like Jackie said, unless one of the spouses said that this property is for this person alone, then in that case, it won't apply. Yes, but in the absence of that express rebuttal, we are saying that in the case of land, it is the position that if it's jointly acquired, then question, what is jointly acquired? Jointly acquired is by virtue of the fact of the marriage. Yeah. If it's jointly acquired, then we will treat it, even if it's in the name of the one of the spouses alone, as a joint property. The other party is holding it in what we call trust. The other spouse's portion is being held in trust for him or her, which means that on any day, if they have to go their separate ways, she will be entitled to that portion of it. And
so those of us who usually will lugu, you go and buy a property, or you are married, you don't tell your spouse about the property, you go and buy the property, then you put it in your name, and you think that because it's in your name only, that the property belongs to you. I hope you've heard otherwise. But I hope so.
Anita, yes, what Jackie, I would also want to advise, especially the women, is that don't think that because of this principle, when you go to court, you don't even know the location of that land. You know, it is a blanket thing. The court will just give it to you. It doesn't work that way. Sometimes you go and you wouldn't get anything or get, what you think you deserve because you don't know anything about it. You contributed nothing, absolutely nothing. There's a woman who can even emphatically say that this land here, maybe it is at Kaswa. I'm not interested in Kaswa land. It is too far. I don't want to live there. I don't want anything to do with this. They don't get involved. They don't contribute. They don't do anything. I want to advise you to do that. Get to know the land. On weekends when he is going to sites, wear your trousers. Go with him.
But what if the person has done it nicodemously? So you are not aware of it. And then upon divorce, you get to know, oh, he had this, he had this, he had no, or she, it can be the other way around. Some women also have a lot of properties, they don't tell their spouse, because it's both ways, right? Yes. It's not just the men. So the women to now, they're making a lot of money.
That is different.
Like Jackie, she's making a lot of money.
Amen. That is different. In that case, you don't know. It was on your blind side. Okay. Yes, but where you know, the lady should get involved. When a man cooks, you can eat it. When a woman cooks too, it is edible. So we should get involved and not think that once it is property, it is the headache of the man. He should do it alone. You don't care because you think that when there is divorce, you will surely get your share.
So what I mentioned one about properties before marriage, but what are other properties that are not part of the spousal properties?
Oh, like maybe a gift.
Okay. So if my father gives me a house.
Yes, a house. No,
I'm not sharing it with my husband.
No. A gift he can't. Something you've inherited. Okay. Yes, in that case you can't because it wasn't acquired by the two of you during the marriage or through the union.
So if I inherit something from my parents, it's not part. If I get a gift, it's not part. If I acquire the property before the marriage, it's not part.
Before the marriage, it's not part.
Unless the court so that.
Unless with the property that is acquired before marriage, maybe you bought it years prior. Maybe it was land.
Actually,
but
that's
then
my next
after
question.
marriage, your husband helped you to put up the building.
Yeah.
Or maybe there was a building, there was no kitchen.
Yeah.
Your wife came in and said, oh, let me create a kitchen. So your wife has made substantial improvement to the existing property. So in that case, that person will be entitled to some benefit in the property. Not that the whole is yours, but because you have contributed to its improvement, you've added value to it. Okay. You are entitled to that value that you have added. Okay.
So there's this question, and it relates to it, so I want to ask from Stephen. And his question is quite simple, that the wife got a land before they got married. The wife got a land, and the wife had paid for only half of that land. And then when they got married, the wife told him that he was about to lose that land. She was about to lose that land, so he should do something. So he went for a loan and paid for half of the land. But you know, because it was before the marriage, she had already done a lot of the papers, indenture and everything in her name. So when he paid the half, the thing was in her name. And he was like, you're my wife, I love you. So it's okay for it to be in your name. They've built a 3-bedroom with kitchen and hall and all that. Now they've gone through the divorce, and he practically got nothing. The amount they gave him, okay, so the building was estimated to be about 300,000, and they gave him less than 50,000. Although he had showed that he indeed had contributed and done everything. But the judge, okay, I don't want us to go into decisions of judges, but
because
generally
we have it before us.
Yes,
the judgment.
But generally, such a case, there's a land. I paid for some of it. It was before marriage, but I helped pay for. I helped build. I was the foreman. I was the one who went for loans to build. You also brought money to build. Ordinarily, all things being equal, such a person should have been able to get a substantial amount. Lawyer Papo.
Well,
no, like we don't know the nitty-gritties, but like looking at the face value and this information.
Yes, so if I understand from his question, that was given as his share of
that's at less than 2%, yes.
For something like this, typically you want to evaluate the property.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, value the property.
Yeah,
you want to value the property. But was it before the judge? That's a question.
Yes.
Okay, then if it was before the judge, then of course that amount, if we agree, first of all, it depends.
Yes.
Because we don't know how the judge interpreted it. Was he supposed to be a 50% owner? Maybe the 50,000 that was given to him was 20%, given the evidence before the judge, because we're not there.
Yeah.
So if the evidence showed that his inputs only represented 10 or 20%, then I'm assuming that the amount they gave was equivalent to what the judge assessed as his share.
But ordinarily, all things being equal.
Yes.
We don't know the need, so I don't want us to go to the nitty. But all things being equal, if I help you acquire land, or you acquire land before marriage, and then I help you pay off 50% of it, I help you build. We live in the house together. I was the foreman. I was the one who went up and down. I went for loans, and I proved to show that I really went for loans. For all things being equal, it's like the case should have gone like all things being equal. 50-50.
What we don't know, you know, before people marry, they do all sort of, as they say, crazy stuff.
I love you, so take the property.
Could it be?
I don't want it.
Could it be that, because you said before marriage, could it be that this money that he even gave to the woman was treated as a gift? We don't know. Because you and I know that if it's a gift, it's a gift.
Yeah.
I've seen people say that because I'm no more with you. In fact, 2 years ago, it was in the news. A girl had dated an elderly man. The man had bought a vehicle. They broke up as a gift. The man goes to pick the vehicle. I said, this girl didn't get legal advice. No. Because once a gift, it's yours.
It's yours.
He dare not come to say, I'm taking it back. Unless, of course, it's a conditional, it's a conditional gift.
That's with me.
Exactly. It's the same thing. If this gentleman gave the money before they got married, how did he describe the money? Is it a gift?
But all things, let's say it's not a gift. But ordinarily, looking at this case, can you 50-50?
You see, when we go to court, evidence is so important.
Yes.
You can make all the averments you want, 50-page averments. If you don't have one evidence to back your claim, the judge's hands are tied.
Okay.
So as Ni is saying, probably he couldn't even prove his case.
Okay.
Right now, he is telling you this. We don't have the court records.
Hey, lawyers, no, the whole papers.
No,
I get,
yes,
it is important. It is important.
You understand? So maybe he showed a couple of receipts that probably amounted to 10,000 Ghana cedis as his contribution. And that was it. Maybe the loan and everything that he took.
It becomes property of them, because during the course of the marriage, so even if you take 50% of the price of, okay, don't let us go into it, because there are lots of questions. So.
Anita, we have established that the 50-50 is not a blank check.
No, it's not.
Yes, so the judge will look at what is fair and equitable and share pursuant to your inputs. So if you are able to prove that, oh, in fact, I paid for 70%, this is the receipt. This is it, this is that. In fact, I went to see the gentleman, this, that. If
I was the one who was the foreman, I was the one who did that.
Yes, you have to prove it very well.
Okay, so if you are not able to prove, and the woman too is not able to prove that she was the one who did all that, then at the end of the day, we are all back to zero.
Typically, and as you know, what the courts do is that they decide based on the probability, probability. So look at of the two parties whose case is much more probable. So there will definitely be, in quote, a winner. One who
most often than not. Is it fair to say that most often than not it tilts towards the side of the woman?
It could also probably be because of the way men have treated women over the years. Because after you reinforce a certain attitude, you end up, they say, you lie on your bed, you lie on your bed the way you make it. So if men have been seen to be bullish, then the court says that a protective, for the if you like, enclave for the women. And you see that without digressing, even in our employment law, you find that the judges tend to be pro-employee. So they tend to protect the weaker party. That's why I believe we've seen a lot of
vessel. Now the women are not weak. All right. So what if there are no properties to share?
Then there is nothing.
So after the divorce, you all go.
Yes, it's dissolved, and that is it.
What about when one of the spouse goes like, I don't want any part of the property?
Nobody will force you to take it. I've had clients who have said that they don't want the property because they don't want to go through the tussle of going through a long trial. So they just say, you know what, I just want the divorce and my peace of mind. And then they just let everything go.
Is it advisable?
I will not advise you, especially if you have children. And especially if your partner is not the type that would be forthcoming with maintenance, like money to take care of the children. Then it's always good to have some form of security. But what people don't know about divorce is that it is extremely emotional and burdening on the heart and the minds of the people going through it. So sometimes, because they want the whole process to end, because you are going to court, you are seeing this person that you are probably estranged, you know, with, like you are seeing the person. The person is saying certain things that is provoking you in the presence of a judge and all that. So some people will just say that, you know, I will let it go. So if that is what you believe in, I, the lawyer, I can't force you. I can advise you, but the choice is yours. Because once there is life, you understand, you can always come up with yes. So if you think that maybe you are gainfully employed, so you can, you know, start again and you'll be fine, then that's fine. But for those who are not gainfully employed, they put everything in the marriage, they sacrificed their jobs because of the marriage, then you should make sure that you get something out of it.
So usually, before we go for a short break, the doctrine of presumption of advancement. That's one doctrine that women love and most people hate, especially men. Why?
It's because it hits you unexpected.
Okay, what does it mean when we talk about the presumption of advancements? What does it mean?
So it is assumed that this property that, so for example, in one case, the man had 2 wives and then asked the woman to live in one house. Now, according to the woman, the man has said that that is her house, but there was no evidence to that effect. But eventually, the decision was that the woman takes the property. So the property went to the woman. Basically, if you, as a person, decide to take title in the name of another person, then it may be deemed that you actually intended for the person to have that property.
Wow.
Even if there are other intentions to the contrary.
So when you give a gift to your wife,
yes,
that's a divorcing.
That one she takes it.
No,
yes,
she takes it.
Yes.
So what if the woman gives a gift to the man? Does it also apply? No.
You know that
The doctrine of
we are Africans,
Yes.
and you know our traditions influence the way our laws are.
Yeah.
And we know that a man's money, in our tradition, a man's money is for the woman and a woman's is for her. So if I put something in your name, you are only holding it in trust for me.
Wow.
It is unfair. I think it is gender biased, but as Nee said, some of these laws were put in place to protect women because they were being marginalized and, cheated so much.
Okay.
Yes.
So the doctrine of presumption of advancement means if you're a husband and you give a gift to your wife and you are divorced and you can't go for the gift, you are not sharing the gift. The gift is for her alone and the rest of the property you share together. However, if she gives you the gift and you are about divorcing, the gift will come back for all of you to share. Let's go for this short commercial break. We'll be right back.
The psalmist said, I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. On this note, Hope Channel Ghana invites you to Hope Virtual Revival from the 3rd to the 9th of July 2022, 5 a.m. morning sections and 8 p.m. evening sections. Tune in to enjoy God's word and soothing music live on Hope Channel on air and on all our social media platforms. Hope Virtual Revival, it's all about Jesus.
Come and feed us.
Nia onyankopon hwehwa ne sɛ onipa bia bedi yie ɛwɔ asase yi so. Ɛno ti adwuma bia wo ye no, wo hia ho nimdeɛ ɛne nkyerɛkyerɛ papa. Mpanifo se sanwa bɛba kontomre ɛnkwan ani a na egyinemu nam so. Ɛno nti na Hope Channel ɛde dwumadi a yɛfrɛ ne sɛ Business Forum abrɛwo. Yawada nwumre no nwɔtwe bia ne kyerɛ 8 p.m. Hyia me na nakwa mesika. Me ne mpanimfo a waben na wadɔ sukɔ ɛwɔ sikasɛm mu. Adwadie mu ɛne enwuma mu bɛsi nkonwa ne ama wo nkyerɛkyerɛ papa a ɛbɛboa wo na nso watumi atu mpɔn. Piao.
Semibre. Na mebo ne tofana. Yaka say divorce dey enye. And dey enko ho be last week discuss here one hwa ko the Lord Chamber Ghana page, the Facebook page na ko hwe sa video no. Na yeka sisi ane say aware ne egu a nyame fam samba. Basa aware ne gu a na mo wo ejapade a. Ejapade a mo nyae a bra na mo aware no. All things being equal no, mo beche. Nti di baby obema make say oba na mbo oba na anyese oba na anyese oba na anyese oba na housewife otifie keke kra say na osi unyema na se bio mpemu obo akakra ohwe nkola ne bia ti yebema ne bi na say properties say edan asase efu a ye ka na say property ne nka ni nia ne de nka mo be che half unless obe che say na oba na mpebi oba na mpebi na di bebe beka so oba na mbo enyembra pacho na osan hwe so a ye ka sentity wa je property now the property na ko nkwan wudi mu nti wa dwemu no e wo me kunu nkwan di mu me yere nkwan di mu nti me peme de enye no kre The first say wo nkwan wo di mo nche say nkwan wo di. However, property ntimo be che. But na mo nche no eye ebia usi wo dan bi kransa mo ware. Eno no enka ho unless a court ne beka say yenyi kakra ne emfa emma ne say mu divorce ya. And I say bia o papa aja eja o ejapade bi and I say obi ache obi obi ache o car and then they mu divorce ya mo nche sa anyema no. But se mu wa ware enim na properties amuni amunya e wa ware enim e wo di mu e wo ba ni di mu e obi di mu all things being equal mo je say ejapade no. Nti see we've discussed the properties. Now let's discuss the children. Let's discuss. I don't have much time, but we have a lot of questions coming in, so we rush through the children quickly. So, what happens to the children? Which children are we looking at, and what happens to the children?
Okay, so we are looking at the children in the marriage. So whether they are the biological children or adopted children, then the court would have to decide who the children live with permanently and then who has access to them. So the children cannot be thrown up and down. You go here and then you come here. They have to be stationed at one place with one of the parents, and then the other parents can see them from time to time. Okay. Yes.
So children, we are looking at someone below the age of 18.
18, yes. Okay. Somebody who is below the majority.
But if the person is above 18, the person can determine.
They can determine where they want to live.
Okay. What if the children are young? Let's say 7, 8, 9. What happens? What happens?
So for the children, you're looking at two things: the custody. Yeah. Or three things: custody, care, and support. Depending on how you look at it, it could be two things. So what has tended to be the norm is that for children who are younger, they almost always end up being with the woman, the mother, for want of a better word. That has been but there are instances where the court can give custody to the man. Now, under the Children's Act, that's the main law that regulates matters related to children. It says that in all situations, the court must consider the best interest of the child. Yeah. Now, if it is shown that the woman is not responsible, what do I mean by that? A woman who is abusing substance, for instance, will not get custody, because the idea is that the children must not be exposed to both physical and moral hazard or immorality. And we all know that children by nature copy from their parents. So in a situation like that, even though the children may be young, the custody will be given to the man. There was a case that I happened to have advised on, where it was tricky. It had to do more with ability rather than anything. So when a man can say, I'm able to have all the facilities, if you come to my house, I have nannies, I have... That is not the sole consideration. Because in that situation, they rather court to order you to even pay more to help the woman take care of.
So even if the woman is poor, they'll give the children to the woman, and you will be supporting the children from the side of the woman.
Exactly. So having the physical, if the woman, for instance, I mentioned substance abuse, if the woman is terminally ill, then that situation, taking your child may have a toll on her. Yeah. So it's another example where custody may go to the man or will go to the man. And actually, let me say this, both the man and the woman, the court can deny them custody. Because, as I said, it is not about whether I'm the father or the mother, it's about what is in the best interest of the child. If both parents are, quote, irresponsible, and trust me, there are parents who both abuse substances. So in a situation like that, somebody like a grandparent can come in handy, or an auntie or a cousin or whatever can come in to take the child up for custody. Okay. So I think that's
so Jackie,
that's what it is.
If let's say, for example, the woman gets custody, we said something about the man maintaining, but what are some of the things the court will look out for to ensure that the welfare of the children is secured?
Okay, so we would usually ask you to pay the monthly maintenance, which is what the children are going to use to feed. Then school fees too comes. We look at accommodation. We look at health care. Sometimes extracurricular activities, depending on how you've brought your children up. You know, even there are times when who to pay for vacations abroad. It all comes in, depending on how you've, you know, nurtured your children. Usually, that burden falls on the shoulders of the man. You understand? But where the woman is also gainfully employed, you have to contribute. So sometimes maybe the man would be asked to take the monthly maintenance, the school fees, huge medical bills, and then the lady may provide accommodation, you know, like that. Yes, once you are gainfully employed, if you are a woman of means. But if the lady is not working at all, has no means of income, then everything will fall on the shoulders of the man, unfortunately.
And what if the man cannot? What happens?
Well, the court will let you pay what you can afford. So there is something that we call Affidavit of Means.
Yes.
We will file it, showing the court how much you make in a month, what your expenses are, and what you are left with after your expenses are deducted from your income. And so, for instance, if the woman is asking for, and I have a case currently like that, where the woman is asking for 6,000 cedis a month for the children. Meanwhile, the man's salary is not even up to 6,000. So the court will never ask the man to pay that amount of money as long as we've been able to prove that he doesn't even make up to that. So you can ask for 6,000. The court can order 1,000 cedis. You understand? So it depends on what you are able to give. The court would look at that and make the orders.
My time is almost up. Okay, so
let me say this.
Yes.
Children are entitled to be maintained. That's the principle. And maintenance is actually the responsibility of the parents, except that in a divorce setting, you have a situation where you are looking at two parties living separately. So, but there are instances where, in terms of maintenance, both spouses, or rather, let me put this, both divorcees or both parents can be ordered to do that.
Equally.
Yes, there have been instances because, like I said, it's about the child, not the parents. So the mother is upset, says that I can't, you have to pay maintenance. People use a divorce situation as punishment to against the other.
Yes, and that's another area. That's the man is trying, the man is paying, and you don't let the man see the children. You don't let the man's parents see the child. You've taken control of the child. You don't want. And
they ask for every little thing. Sometimes even a pencil. They would ask the man, "Your child needs pencil," which is totally outrageous.
And I have a particular case where the woman is polluting the children, the 4 children, against the man. But that's the man who gave you the paying your school fees and everything. And is it changing? Is the tide changing? It's as if at first the women were the vulnerable ones, and we all went in to protect the women, and now women are getting the stand, and they see.
I have a friend who says that very soon it will be affirmative action in favor of men. Because the way the women are pushing, they've almost overtaken us. But you see, Anita, the point here is that a judge must also be careful. Let me say this. When you push a man that hard and he flips, what he does is that the time the children, you need him most, he will not be there. Because it would have gone. It happens. Men get angry, they bottle up, they do this. Somehow, in trying to vent, the children end up suffering. So when they need their father...
don't use the children as a weapon.
Because it comes back to hit you and the children. So that's the lesson.
If the child has a weapon against your ex, then at the end of the day, if I don't get it, the child is innocent, the child is perfect. Why don't you protect the child and let the child get the best of both worlds, a mother and a father?
So that's where the judge must must look at things critically.
Okay.
There have been times where wisdom has prevailed, where the judges have ignored most of the demands made, because they realize that going that route eventually. Exactly, but it has to take a judge. If you leave to the parties, they will push and push and push.
Yes. Okay, so let's say that there's more than one child. There are two, there are three. Or the judge share amongst. You take two, you take two.
It's advisable that they are put together and then they grow together.
Yeah.
So in the interest of the best interest of the children, they will always be together.
Have to be together.
And so once person see, and apart from the judge, we have other people who also sit in. So which court are we looking at? If you want custody, and then which court are we looking at?
So the family tribunal, circuit court can do that. Yeah. Even the district court can
but we
do
do it in open court where everybody is seated there.
No. In chambers.
In chambers.
Family matters, divorce. So don't think that when you're in court, everybody will hear about your matter. It is just your lawyers and then just the two of you and the judge in the judge's chambers.
Okay. So let's say, is the woman or man entitled to compensation after divorce?
Yes.
Good question.
You can ask. You may not get it.
Yes.
Or you may even get a little.
A little.
Yes. It doesn't mean you can ask for 1 million and then you will get it. Usually, I think the women ask more than the men. Even when the women are the petitioners, meaning the ones who initiated the process, we are still asking for alimony.
I'm yet to do a case where the man is asking for settlement or some sort. But the law allows the men to ask. So men.
Yes, men. They have to start asking.
We don't have money. Men
so you don't have money. So when the court gives someone custody, can the other party come and take away the child?
No, you can't. It will be unlawful.
Okay.
But you are given reasonable access to the child. So you can have the child maybe on weekends, vacations, and so on and so forth. But you cannot take the child away. As in, you are kidnapping the child, so taking the child out of you can't do that.
So that will amount to kidnapping in a way.
Yeah, and this area, a lot of wisdom must prevail, because the judge will make the orders, but it's up to the parties to make it work. So you don't get to be rigid about it.
Yeah.
For instance, this last we're supposed to have kind income for them, so I'm not giving them to you the following. No, that's not how it works. Yeah. Because we are not machines, we are human beings. So we need to be flexible, even in the face of the others.
Do you need a lawyer for your divorce? You can do a divorce by yourself.
Me, I would advise you not to. Sometimes people bring the cases when they have, destroyed everything from the beginning. Sometimes we have to withdraw and restart because there's nothing we can do, or do amendments, and it will be at your cost. So since you did not train for that, please see a lawyer. If you think the mainstream lawyer is expensive, you can go to legal aid, and they would assist you. But always legal aid, they always have too many cases,
and then too many cases on them, and then they might not give you their best.
And my reason why I recommend a lawyer, it's not even on the technical side of things. Let me explain what I mean.
Okay.
As Jackie said, divorce is usually explosive. Emotions are high. And Anita, you and I know that when you are emotional, you do stupid things, in quotes. So you are going to annoy the judge by a comment or statement you make. The parties have had to be physically restrained, even in the chambers. Even so you can imagine if this other party doesn't have a lawyer. Before you realize he slapped the other party.
That's another crime altogether.
So and when you're emotionally talking to, you can use bad language. So even without looking at the technical side of things, you may not understand the rules and how they work, because by nature divorce tend to be very explosive. I won't advise that you
and how much are we looking at? Let's group them: simple, medium, complex.
They should go to the bar scale of fees,
and that's how much. So give me the scale.
Oh, they should go to the bar scale of fees. Then you see a lawyer. And then nothing is stone.
All right. So if you have any questions, we are now on the questions. I have a few minutes. 0559 68006. 0559 68006. So there's a question. Isaac Owusu Crusader. I'm laughing pound. How can we all bring child old earth and account the total responsibility on the man, claiming if the woman was a housewife, she was taking care of the children. That law needs amendment. If in a relationship or marriage and separation setting and the child is 6 months old, why can't the man take the child? But this law claims the child needs to be some years before the woman dies, even at the hospital. The child is given to the man, and most children have survived through the care of the father. Please, my lawyer, should delve so well in that for me, please. So, please, 6 months, all things being equal.
6 months, you can't breastfeed the child. Please, let's be.
Yes.
Let's
Crusader, we beg, okay. Philip Entry says, very insightful program. God bless you all for the impact. Ata Kwachua says, interesting. It's good we learn some of these before thinking of marriage. Yes, very true. So if you're not married, these are the time you learn these things. Divorce has its own issues. It go be, oh God day. Isaac, then we have Al Hassan Abdul Wahib. Great insight from the lawyers. Lawyer Papo, we are enjoying the program. Atakwa Chewa Ellen Sewaduma Kon and Dinah Ajopuku are watching us. Gloria is also watching. Gloria Ato is also watching us. Hey, Crusader comes back. Isaac also Crusader. Why should I share my property I bought with my sweat without her own? Meanwhile, she is using her money to buy shoes and wigs. And we are breaking up. She still insists she needs part of it, while I allowed her to sleep in the same building. You give her, you give her her share. Crusader, you give her a share. Nana Kwesi Dechi. I hope I've mentioned the name right. But that is not fair to the men. Hey, Mata Cluvia, I'm learning a lot. God bless you. Sabla Kobla, join in rather late today. Well done, host. And please, if you join in late, you can always watch on our page, or you can always later, you can even go to the page and go and watch any of our videos. Just the Law Chamber GH, the Law Chamber, all the videos are there you can watch. Isaac Crusader comes back. Hey, Isaac, I know so far, madam. This court issues needs to be abolished, and the reason is why you can tell me she was washing my clothes. Now said I was giving her chop money. Because of this law, that's why most ladies are lazy and killing our innocent brothers in the name of properties. I'm waiting for a judge who can tell me that, and we will continue that case in Judgment Day. Okay, so Nana Nyakon Boatin, this is very insightful. My advice is we should learn as couples to get involved in our marriage and not to leave everything on one person to do. Exactly. Thank you so much, Amma. Thank you so much. Salom Jabesi is also watching us. And then we have, hey, I don't know, there's a very long one here. I'll say, my friend is in trouble, Anita. I need help. She's married and building with her husband. She's the brain behind the project and has contributed more than the husband. One thing led to another, and the woman's family got to know that she's helping her husband. The husband is offended by this and doesn't want to move to the house. The lady, also not happy with their current accommodation arrangement, has moved out to live with her family, awaiting the man to change his mind. Anita, the man doesn't seem to have the interest of the woman and her family at heart. There's a lot of issues I can't talk about. To cut a long story short, the church says they can't divorce, but I fear for the life of my friend. Pastors have tried to know what I do. My question is, I hope we got the story. Yes. My question is, what happened to the children who are all below the age of 18? So you can say all things being equal, the children
if they should divorce, they will go to the woman. If she's of sound mind, she doesn't have any
issue. Even if you don't have money, the man will maintain you. Yeah, but Bomiende. 2, what will happen to the property? You said that as well.
Yes, I think we've answered that.
Yeah, so 50-50, all things equal.
Equitably. Equally, yes, but equitably.
3, should my friend continue to stay in this marriage although her life is at risk? Should we wait till what happened to the Nigerian musician happened to her before we act? Anita, please, what should my friend do? Beatrice from Kumasi. Hey, Beatrice, this is a long one.
You see, Beatrice, you didn't even state that your friend's life is in danger. Maybe she's been abused or, you know, anything.
She just said that she can't go into it, but the friend's life is in danger.
I think she needs to see maybe a marriage counselor and then decide on what to do.
But at least you know what will happen to the properties and the children.
Yes.
My time is up. My time is up. And there's another question here. Hey, My friend is married to a woman. He knew he couldn't father a child, but was hoping for the best. And God's intervention when he married the love of his life. He didn't tell the woman about it. Unfortunately, God is yet to answer his prayers. But his wife has given birth to 3 children. Although he is not the father of any of the children, which his wife doesn't know he knows. He looks after them. I say he takes care of them and does everything for them. But when he dies, he doesn't intend to give any part of the property to these children. Okay, that one is inheritance. When we come the second season, that's the topic we'll be discussing. So don't worry, we'll discuss inherit. Please, your final words. My time is
so
up.
My final words
in
is
less than
that
a minute.
When it comes to these sharing of the properties and other ancillary reliefs, the parties can agree on how they want to share their own property and then file the terms of settlement in court, and the court will adopt it as consent judgment. So if you don't want the court to decide for you, the parties, put aside that unnecessary anger and whatever, and then decide on who takes this, who takes what. The kids stay with you, you have access, this one pays for school fees and so on and so forth. And then you can have a very short divorce, and then you can also have what you want. Other than that, the court will decide for you, and you may not really like the outcome. Okay, there's a question. A man acquires a property during marriage but registers it in his mother's name, and same is captured in his mother's will. What happens to this when they divorce?
So, if you say the man acquires the property, did it come to him first or went straight to the mother?
No, he bought it and put it in his mother's name.
Because our Lord doesn't frown on you giving a gift to your mother. But if he bought it first and then transferred to the mother, then it creates a problem.
No, it was given to them, registered in the mother's name. So all things equal, it's inheritance.
That's a gift he gave to the mother.
And the mother has willed it to him.
Yes.
So it's inheritance. Hey, people are finding ways. So.
Yes.
Hi, right, my time is up. I said, good evening, Anita. Assuming a woman once a woman is married and had no children, after the man's death, the woman lives in the house till her death. Does the property belong to the father, woman's family, or man? I think we'll talk about this in the subsequent ones when we come to episode. So, Senior, your final words. My time is so past.
So let me say this. There are laws that regulate our behavior, or let's say our conduct or transactions in Ghana. In the area of marriage, there are a lot of, call it, laws that protect us. The protection extends to the parties themselves, the children, and even to people who are called children of the household, who would not answer to the discretion of a natural child or an adopted child. If there's evidence that the couple treated a child who is someone below 18 years as a permanent member of the family, even that child has some rights. So you need to understand what your rights are, and that will come with you speaking to the right persons and also conducting yourself in a civil manner during the divorce proceeding, because that's where you can make the most gains. If you fight and you lose your cool, at the end of the day, the judge will impose something on you and you'll not be happy
about it. Okay. So, I'm not introduced here to say what happens when the one acquires property before the marriage. We know, right? It's yours unless the court decides otherwise. So, if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. That's 1 Timothy 5:8. Provide for your family. And women, if you are being provided for, show respect, show decorum, give access to the child to the other spouse and then his family as well, so that we all live happily ever after. Next week, our topic is adoption. We're going to do should you adopt, when should you adopt, how should you adopt. My time is up. Until next week, please stay safe and God bless. Bye.